Two Esdras from the Holy Bible, also known as 4 Ezra. Chapter 11. On the second night I had a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle that had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads. And I looked, and behold, he spread his wings over all the earth, and all the winds of heaven blew upon him, and the clouds were gathered about him. And I looked, and out of his wings there grew opposing wings, but they became little puny wings. But his heads were at rest. The middle head was larger than the other heads, but it also was at rest with them. And I looked, and behold, the eagle flew with his wings to reign over the earth and over those who dwell in it. And I saw how all things under heaven were subjected to him, and no one spoke against him, not even one creature that was on the earth. And I looked, and behold, the eagle rose upon his talons, and uttered a cry to his wings, saying, Do not all watch at the same time. Let each sleep in his own place, and watch in his turn. But let the heads be reserved for the last. And I looked, and behold, the voice did not come from his heads, but from the midst of his body. And I counted his opposing wings, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on the right side 1 wing arose, and it reigned over all the earth. And while it was raining, it came to its end and disappeared, so that its place was not seen. Then the next wing arose and reigned, and it continued to reign a long time. And while it was raining, its end came also, so that it disappeared like the first. And behold, a voice sounded, saying to it, Hear me, you who have ruled the earth all this time. I announce this to you before you disappear. After you no one shall rule as long as you, or even half as long. Then the third wing raised itself up and held the rule like the former ones, and it also disappeared. And so it went with all the wings. They wielded power one after another, and then were never seen again. And I looked, and behold, in due course the wings that followed also rose up on the right side in order to rule. There were some of them that ruled, yet disappeared suddenly, and others of them rose up, but did not hold the rule. And after this I looked, and behold, the 12 wings and the 2 little wings disappeared, and nothing remained on the eagle's body except the 3 heads that were at rest and 6 little wings. And I looked, and behold, 2 little wings separated from the 6, and remained under the head that was on the right side, but 4 remained in their place. And I looked, and behold, these little wings planned to set themselves up and hold the rule. And I looked, and behold, one was set up, but suddenly disappeared. A second also, and this disappeared more quickly than the first. And I looked, and behold, the 2 that remained were planning between themselves to reign together. And while they were planning, behold, one of the heads that were at rest, the one which was in the middle, awoke, for it was greater than the other 2 heads. And I saw how it allied the 2 heads with itself. And behold, the head turned with those that were with it, and it devoured the 2 little wings which were planning to reign. Moreover, this head gained control of the whole earth, and with much oppression dominated its inhabitants. And it had greater power over the world than all the wings that had gone before. And after this I looked, and behold, the middle head also suddenly disappeared, just as the wings had done. But the 2 heads remained, which also ruled over the earth and its inhabitants. And I looked, and behold, the head on the right side devoured the one on the left. Then I heard a voice saying to me, Look before you, and consider what you see. And I looked, and behold, a creature like a lion was aroused out of the forest, roaring. And I heard how he uttered a man's voice to the eagle, and spoke, saying, Listen, and I will speak to you. The Most High says to you, Are you not the one that remains of the 4 beasts which I had made to reign in my world, so that the end of my times might come through them? You, the 4th that has come, have conquered all the beasts that have gone before, and you have held sway over the world with much terror, and over all the earth with grievous oppression. And for so long you have dwelt on the earth with deceit, and you have judged the earth, but not with truth, for you have afflicted the meek and injured the peaceable. You have hated those who tell the truth, and have loved liars. You have destroyed the dwellings of those who brought forth fruit, and have laid low the walls of those who did you no harm. And so your insolence has come up before the Most High, and your pride to the Mighty One. And the Most High has looked upon his times, and behold, they are ended, and his ages are completed. Therefore you will surely disappear, you eagle, and your terrifying wings, and your most evil little wings, and your malicious heads, and your most evil talons, and your whole worthless body, so that the whole earth, freed from your violence, may be refreshed and relieved, and may hope for the judgment and mercy of him who made it. While the lion was saying these words to the eagle, I looked, and behold, the remaining head disappeared, and the two wings that had gone over to it arose, and set themselves up to reign, and their reign was brief and full of tumult. And I looked, and behold, they also disappeared, and the whole body of the eagle was burned, and the earth was exceedingly terrified. Then I awoke in great perplexity of mind and great fear, and I said to my spirit, Behold, you have brought this upon me, because you search out the ways of the Most High. Behold, I am still weary in mind and very weak in my spirit, and not even a little strength is left in me, because of the great fear with which I have been terrified this night. Therefore I will now beseech the Most High that he may strengthen me to the end. And I said, O Sovereign Lord, if I have found favor in thy sight, and if I have been accounted righteous before thee beyond many others, and if my prayer has indeed come up before thy face, strengthen me and show me thy servant the interpretation and meaning of this terrifying vision, that thou mayest fully comfort my soul. For thou hast judged me worthy to be shown the end of the times, and the last events of the times. He said to me, This is the interpretation of this vision which you have seen. The eagle which you saw coming up from the sea is the fourth kingdom which appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. But it was not explained to him as I now explain or have explained it to you. Behold, the days are coming when a kingdom shall arise on earth, and it shall be more terrifying than all the kingdoms that have been before it. And 12 kings shall reign in it, one after another. But the second that is to reign shall hold sway for a longer time than any of the other 12. This is the interpretation of the 12 wings which you saw. As for your hearing a voice that spoke, coming not from the eagle's heads, but from the midst of his body, this is the interpretation. In the midst of the time of that kingdom great struggle shall arise, and it shall be in danger of falling. Nevertheless it shall not fall then, but shall regain its former power. As for your seeing 8 little wings clinging to his wings, this is the interpretation. 8 kings shall arise in it, whose time shall be short and their years swift, and 2 of them shall perish when the middle of its time draws near, and 4 shall be kept for the time when its end approaches, but 2 shall be kept until the end. As for your seeing 3 heads at rest, this is the interpretation. In its last days the Most High will raise up 3 kings, and they shall renew many things in it, and shall rule the earth, and its inhabitants more oppressively than all who were before them. Therefore they are called the heads of the eagle, for it is they who shall sum up his wickedness and perform his last actions. As for your seeing that the large head disappeared, one of the kings shall die in his bed, but in agonies. But as for the 2 who remained, the sword shall devour them. For the sword of one shall devour him who is with him, but he also shall fall by the sword in the last days. As for your seeing 2 little wings passing over to the head which was on the right side, this is the interpretation. It is these whom the Most High has kept for the eagle's end. This was the reign which was brief and full of tumult, as you have seen. And as for the lion whom you saw rousing up out of the forest, and roaring and speaking to the eagle, and reproving him for his unrighteousness, and as for all his words that you have heard, this is the Messiah whom the Most High has kept until the end of days, who will arise from the posterity of David, and will come and speak to them. He will denounce them for their ungodliness and for their wickedness, and will cast up before them their contemptuous dealings. For first he will set them living before his judgment seat, and when he has reproved them, then he will destroy them. But he will deliver in mercy the remnant of my people, those who have been saved throughout my borders, and he will make them joyful until the end comes, the day of judgment, of which I spoke to you at the beginning. This is the dream that you saw, and this is its interpretation. And you alone were worthy to learn this secret of the Most High. Therefore write all these things that you have seen in a book, and put it in a hidden place, and you shall teach them to the wise among your people, whose hearts you know are able to comprehend and keep these secrets. But wait here 7 days more, so that you may be shown whatever it pleases the Most High to show you." Then he left me. When all the people heard that the 7 days were past and I had not returned to the city, they all gathered together from the least to the greatest and came to me and spoke to me, saying, "How have we offended you, and what harm have we done to you, that you have forsaken us and sat in this place? For of all the prophets you alone are left to us, like a cluster of grapes from the vintage, and like a lamp in a dark place, and like a haven for a ship saved from a storm. Are not the evils which have befallen us sufficient? Therefore, if you forsake us, how much better it would have been for us if we also had been consumed in the burning of Zion. For we are no better than those who died there." And they wept with a loud voice. Then I answered them and said, "Take courage, O Israel, and do not be sorrowful, O house of Jacob. For the Most High has you in remembrance, and the Mighty One has not forgotten you in your struggle. As for me, I have neither forsaken you nor withdrawn from you. But I have come to this place to pray on account of the desolation of Zion, and to seek mercy on account of the humiliation of our sanctuary. Now go, every one of you to his house, and after these days I will come to you." So the people went into the city as I told them to do. But I sat in the field 7 days, as the angel had commanded me, and I ate only of the flowers of the field, and my food was of plants during those days. Chapter 13. After 7 days I dreamed a dream in the night, and behold, a wind arose from the sea and stirred up all its waves. And I looked, and behold, this wind made something like the figure of a man come up out of the heart of the sea. And I looked, and behold, that man flew with the clouds of heaven, and wherever he turned his face to look, everything under his gaze trembled. And whenever his voice issued from his mouth, all who heard his voice melted as wax melts when it feels the fire. After this I looked, and behold, an innumerable multitude of men were gathered together from the four winds of heaven to make war against the man who came up out of the sea. And I looked, and behold, he carved out for himself a great mountain, and flew up upon it. And I tried to see the region or place from which the mountain was carved, but I could not. And after this I looked, and behold, all who had gathered together against him to wage war with him were much afraid, yet dared to fight. And behold, when he saw the onrush of the approaching multitude, he neither lifted his hand, nor held a spear or any weapon of war. But I saw only how he sent forth from his mouth, as it were, a stream of fire, and from his lips a flaming breath, and from his tongue he shot forth a storm of sparks. All these were mingled together, the stream of fire, and the flaming breath, and the great storm, and fell on the onrushing multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them all up, so that suddenly nothing was seen of the innumerable multitude, but only the dust of ashes and the smell of smoke. When I saw it, I was amazed. After this I saw the same man come down from the mountain, and call to him another multitude which was peaceable. Then many people came to him, some of whom were joyful and some sorrowful. Some of them were bound, and some were bringing others as offerings. Then in great fear I awoke, and I besought the Most High, and said, "From the beginning thou hast shown thy servant these wonders, and hast deemed me worthy to have my prayer heard by thee. Now show me also the interpretation of this dream, for as I consider it in my mind, alas for those who will be left in those days, and still more, alas for those who are not left. For those who are not left will be sad, because they understand what is reserved for the last days, but cannot attain it. But alas for those also who are left, and for that very reason, for they shall see great dangers and much distress, as these dreams show. Yet it is better to come into these things, though incurring peril, than to pass from the world like a cloud, and not to see what shall happen in the last days.